All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining and thanks for all your time. I really appreciate it. Thanks for those that are online. Um, we have a couple of people here in the room, but it's all good and we appreciate your time. So um, right now, we do not quite have a quorum.
Need one more.
We need one more to join. And so if we get down to a voting situation, whatnot, we may have to either postpone it or see if someone joins. Somebody just joined, two people just joined. No, not our people. Okay. All right. So we'll keep track of that and let everybody know if that changes. So can we do routine things like approve the agenda?
Probably not.
Probably not. Okay. All right. So
That's just given.
without approval, we're going to the agenda. Chair rules, right?
Okay.
Works for me.
Yeah. And so do I have any questions or changes or suggestions to the agenda as presented and not approved? Not hearing anything, we'll go from there. Minutes of the last meeting, any suggestions when we get oh, you got a quorum now?
Richard Samora just joined.
Samora just joined. All right, so let's go back. Thanks, Rich. We appreciate it. So do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
All right, thank you, Kathy. Appreciate that.
Yeah, David, I'll second that.
Somebody second? Dave Zelnock. Oh, Zelnock. Thanks, Dave. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Not hearing any agenda is approved. Minutes of last month's meeting. Any questions, additions, corrections? Not hearing any. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from last month's meeting?
I move approval of the minutes from last month's meeting.
Thank you, Kathy. Second?
Barb.
Okay, great. We got a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? Okay, great. Thank you very much. All right, financials. Lisa is out, so Rick's going to cover them today.
So in your packet, you'll see Lisa's report that shows the huge increase or spike of $1,356,492 over of revenue, sales tax revenue over the monthly budget in April after a less than stellar revenue situation, the sales tax revenue in March. Neither Lisa nor I have a reason for that, but we'll just keep an eye on it month after month. So questions?
Yeah, my reading is that everything in terms of building and sales are down through May, and permits issued and stuff are down through May, that they've seen some increase in late June. But so we'll see how this carries out over the next couple of months. But hopefully we can maintain at least budget without having to go through any mid-year course correction. So any questions on the budget? All right, we'll move on. Capital maintenance and public transportation contracts. Gail is here for the city, so floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. As you mentioned, Gail started with the City of Colorado Springs. Today, the city is bringing 4 contracts forward for your approval, and then we'll provide an update on a contract we brought you last month for informational items as our 5th item. The first one is for the Union Pacific Railroad mainline bridge over Fontanero. This is an A-list project. There's a map included in your packet to help orient where this is located, but it's just to the east of the Centennial I-25, formerly Fontanero interchange. This is a contract for value estimated $110,000 for Lumen to come and do an investigation of their fiber optic communications that is within the rail right away that we're going to have to relocate as a portion of this project. With this money and an investigation, we have to cover the cost of railroad flaggers and do some excavation for the handholds and do some engineering work. And in the end, we really need to determine what both the short-term or during construction location of this communication line is going to be, and then the final communication placement. And because it is in the right of way and just associated, or how it's associated with the project, we do need to cover the cost for this particular work.
Is that communication line associated with the railroad or not?
I don't know the answer.
We don't know
for sure.
Okay.
I believe that it is, but I don't know positively.
Okay, because I saw the word fiber, so a lot of the rail folks are going to fiber.
And this is in the fiber. This is in the rail right away. So my guess is it could be, but I don't know that specific answer.
Okay, thank you.
Our second item is for the Vision Zero Suite. This is the software package that the city does an annual license for that helps us do safety analysis. With the 2024 update, we would also be getting, in addition to be able to do the analysis, we're going to be pushing updates to crash data, the city's linear reference system or the street system, and do a refresh on the traffic volumes just to make sure we're getting the latest and greatest information. This amount is for $39,996 for Diaxis LLC, and this would come out of capital funding, the traffic program, the congestion and incident management program. The third item is for streetlight data, and we specifically the active transportation mode share portion. So let me kind of give you a little bit more of a background. The city, in conjunction with PPACG and the county, we go through and we do a RFP and purchase of streetlight data that's used for analytics throughout the region. The city does provide the local match for that, and it's outside of this contract, but most of it's paid for grant funding. It's about $25,000 that we contribute for that outside of this. But one of the things we keep getting asked about pedestrian and bicycle data, and streetlights is offering that as an option. So we want to purchase that data or the ability to access this data in this next year to see if there's value in it, see it can help with some of the other analytics that we need. So to add on this active transportation mode software, it's $60,231 for the streetlight data. And the city's fourth contract is for North Great Boulevard and Struthers intersection improvements. This is not a PPRTA A-list project. There is a map located in your packet. If you're familiar with the I-25 interchange at Northgate, just to the east there, after you come around the roundabout, the Mining Museum will be to the south. And then the road Northgate continues to Strother, and that's the first signal that you currently reach. The city took that section of roadway over from the county in the last few years, and we're in the process of using general fund monies to do the engineering, and ultimately we'll be doing some resurfacing and putting curb and gutter and some lane reconfiguration on that roadway. Those of you who drive that frequently know that is desperately needed, and it can't happen soon enough. But one of the things that we need to do, and this is where, as part of that contract, eventually we'll have some signal maintenance or PPRTA signal maintenance monies in it. So we want to make sure that PPRTA is a party to the contract up front. So even though that we're not proposing to use RTA monies in this first contract, we want to make sure we're a party. So when we do add RTA monies, that we have our bases covered. We're going through an RFP process. We received proposals yesterday. I actually don't know the result of that I can share with you, but what we intend to do is to do our first initial pre-construction services contract for amount not to exceed $100,000 so we can get our construction contractor on board. When I get the information on the apparent selected contractor, I can forward that. I should have that in advance of the board meeting. So those are the four that are.
Question. So what's been the reaction to the mining museum in terms of moving their driveway.
The mining museum's been great.
So there's been a lot of work on that intersection over the last couple of years. It seems like there's a cone zone or something going on. I don't drive up there every day, but it seems like.
Yeah, there hasn't really, what you've seen on Northgate has all been fiber optic installation. It's nothing that the city's doing. Well, utilities might have been one of the fiber companies last year, but most of it's fiber installation.
Yeah, coming down.
It's not the city or county.
Coming down that hill, making a left turn going eastbound is quite congested at times.
Yeah. The really what we'll do is end up, if you were on the northbound off ramp to Northgate, right now you kind of get dumped in the lane. There will be a acceleration merge lane that will go in, and then that laneage and all that will be cleaned up, curb gutter, sidewalk through that area. Yeah. The mining museum has been great about working with us about moving their access to be at this Struthers signal. Their current access is where we've had some challenges, and we're still working through some issues with CDOT.
Yeah, when you're going northbound and get dumped in there and you're going to turn left to go north on Northgate, on Struthers, that's a hard road to cross sometimes.
Yeah, you're still going to have that problem.
Yeah.
It's just, frankly, it's just close. But anyway, we're working through some issues with CDOT and the current access point. We would like to leave it temporary, or not temporary, leave it as an emergency or commercial egress for where the current access point is, and only for the purpose of bringing heavy equipment into the mining museum. Because the new access point at Struthers to make the turns to come in to access the property would be kind of difficult. So
under those trees, right?
Yeah, we're working through, well, you don't actually have to go in maybe quite that far. Right now they have kind of a greenhouse set up.
Yeah.
In that area.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's really kind of what the nature of the project is, getting that going. Yes.
Does this include the first 50 or 70 yards of Struthers going north, or is that county?
That is actually the county, but I will tell you the county has their own companion project from Glen Eagle Drive down to Struthers, which is one of the reasons why this isn't done yet, because they are going to be fixing my understanding is fixing some drainage challenges from Glen Eagle Drive down to Struthers, and they will actually pipe along Northgate to get to a pond that's actually on the Air Force Academy property.
Right. Yeah.
So we've been doing a lot of coordination with them. I think we own the signals, but there's a power issue, because it's outside of our service territory. So that's kind of where the interface of the city and the county is.
So Gail, this is Richard Zamora. Just curious, why did you guys choose CMGC for this particular project? Because it's relatively small. So
that's a great question. I'm trying to remember all the reasons. They were good at the time, Richard. I will tell you though, we are going to more CMCG more because we get a lot better construction phasing input for this type of work. And we wanted to get the construction contractor on early, and there was some coordination that we wanted to do with the county. We wanted the construction perspective on it, as opposed to having us as engineers kind of guess on some of that, how that's going to be sequenced and phased.
okay, thank you.
And then Mr. Chair, Carlos Perez has his hand raised.
What?
Carlos Perez has his hand raised.
Okay, Carlos?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Thank you for that presentation. Just to follow up on the museum, has been great. I'm a volunteer with the museum. Just want to go ahead and disclose that. We're the museum that works. Question I have is there going to be any financial impact on the museum? It's a nonprofit organization. It's not a business. Is there going to be any financial impact as far as any of this construction, or is it just going to be, just their normal construction? But they're not going to be, the museum is going to be expected to put in funding for this moving of the driveway or changes to the driveway. Is that correct?
I believe that is correct, Carlos. So definitely moving the intersection, moving the main access point to Struthers, they won't have costs, and we're covering most, if not all, the costs of what happens as you first get back onto the mining museum property. I don't know if they had other plans, and I apologize, Ryan Phipps is actually on vacation today. Right. He could give you more of the details, but there's a demarcation point, and can't tell you once you get essentially into the entrance area on the mining museum, what happens from there, if we're doing that or if they are. But we've been having a lot of great coordination with them up front.
And when you say great coordination, talking to the museum director or their staff there to make sure that this is going to work with
Yes.
that museum there.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had them at workshops in our office with the options and working through the details with them. And then we've gone out. I know the team's gone out and met them on site to work through some more details, even beyond that first workshop.
Yeah, well, okay, I appreciate that. I'm going to just say understand that it is a nonprofit business and there is a demarcation where the right of way ends and so forth. But I am going to ask that since this is this traffic was caused not by the museum, it was caused by everything going on. As you know, there's a visitor center there now being built across the street. There's a lot of traffic and development. This museum has been there for many, many decades, and I don't want to see a nonprofit organization like the museum have to pay money for a project that for improvements that they had nothing, that they didn't create these issues here with the traffic. So that's just what I'm going to ask for, and yeah, we'll just stay on top of that. I appreciate that. One more comment, Mr. Chair, if I can just say that too as well.
Go ahead.
This project. Yeah, and this again goes on the design, and I do support this project. I just want to point out, you may or may not be aware that the Struthers Road and the Northgate Road, that's actually for a lot of the recreational cyclists, that's really the only way you can get into the Glen Eagle neighborhood is from the south or the north. This is like a choke point, and it's pretty harrowing for a lot of bicyclists. Well, what we don't want to see is that we make things worse. If we can actually improve it, even better. But I just want to point out that there is for the long haul cyclist going up Struthers, Northgate, and down on Voyager. This is one of the corridors that's used, and as you can see from the map, there are no other points to get into Glen Eagle except through this choke point. So please pass that on to the project managers that there is active transportation in this corridor. The county would also have to consider that since it is going up on Struthers, but let's make sure that we do the right thing here for our active transportation users. Thank you.
Okay, and then city, so those are the 4 contracts. Sorry, I'll pause for the drill. Those are the 4 contracts for the CAC's recommendation for approval. The 5th contract is an update on the on-call project manager for transit services. We went back with transit after last month's board approval for the contract for up to the total of $620,000 as need be. When we brought this to you last month, we thought that the local match and grant would likely be 80-20. Where the grant would be covering 80% of the cost. As it turns out, with the grants that are eligible for this type of work, they could be as much of the highest local match requirement is 50%. So we just wanted to make sure that the CAC was informed that PPRTA transit operational dollars could be as high as $312,500. And hopefully we'll keep that lower, both from an overall contract value, but also from the split, the grant split match as best as we are able to. So any other questions on the city's contracts?
I was pretty clear in terms of the scope of contract work, and this is like bus stop improvements areas and that kind of.
Yeah, it is capital projects that have transit grant funding, but require like a project manager really to go through and deliver it. And we've been trying to have it covered with city staff in the past, on top of their other project loads, or doing the design work to help them with costing. And it's not been as effective for us. We really need somebody to focus on delivering this transit project. So since it's, at least half of it can be grant funded, transit decided to bring a project manager on that will assist specifically on their capital project.
Will that be full-time, or is it, or do you know yet?
It could work up to full-time. We have a large list of projects for them to do, and we're just kind of working on the final staffing plan on that right now.
All right, thank you. And the reason I asked that question was making sure we're clear that this is not considered employee staffing, and so this is a contract manager for a specific purpose, not a employee that
that is correct. It is a contract project manager specifically, and they are required, to And anytime you get federal funding, you're required to have a responsible charge or an RC. In the state of Colorado, they do have to be a licensed professional engineer.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the qualification basis for this. And I think that was a question last month too.
Just wanted to make sure it's clear that what we're doing. Okay.
Mr. Chair, this is David.
questions?
Just had a quick question about that, if I may.
Go ahead, Dave.
Thanks. Hey, Gail, as always, great job. Always enjoy your updates. Help me understand on this project manager for the transit folks. One thing you mentioned was that it may go full time. So is this a fixed fee, not to exceed? In other words,
it's time and materials as needed, Dave, based on the project assignments.
Okay, so are you buying it by the pound, so to speak, or is there a unit price per
Yes.
hour?
There is an hourly rate that we've established with the project management team, and they will be assigned specific tasks with estimates on each of the tasks.
Okay.
That will be monitored.
Right, and what that tells me, that's the answer I was hoping for, I guess, Gail. What that tells me then is that it's kind of at 312,000. That's a not to exceed figure, right? So if
Yes.
Lan and her people and your folks need more project manager time because you're out of money and you're not out a year, so to speak, then this is a not to exceed still, right?
That is correct. It's not to exceed.
Gotcha. Okay, and this is through the end of this calendar year, or is this for 1 year?
This is through the end of this calendar year.
Oh, okay.
We know that we feel like it's probably high for the end of the calendar year, but because it is based on the estimates we did for the projects we intend to assign, so we'll probably likely have monies to roll over into 25, and you'll see us do a reauthorization in the future.
Okay. No, that makes more sense. I was just doing some backwards calculating, and you don't get much for 312 a year for 12 months worth of service. That's 90,000
Right.
base expense to the project manager if it's a full year. This is 6 months, so that's more like what you'd be paying at standard rates. That answers my question.
Okay.
I think I got did I get that right though? So this is 6 months for the rest of this calendar year at 312.
It's actually, the total is 625.
Or 625. Okay.
The PPRTA exposure for this update is up to 500,000.
Okay, but it's only a 6 month contract, really,
You're right.
for that amount. Okay, thank you.
Jim,
Yes.
this is Larry. I have
Go
a
ahead.
question. I have a question on the Struthers Road project. Gail said that, and maybe she can just clarify it a little bit. She said that this is not on the A list at this time, but we're asking.
It is not on the A list, but most of it is being paid for with city general fund monies that were actually collected from the developers along North Gate. The only reason why we're bringing it to PPRTA, because we anticipate having to use, or anticipate using signal maintenance funding or PPRTA maintenance funding for the signal upgrades at Struthers and North Gate later, or as part of the project. So we'll end up having to add PPRTA monies in at some point in time.
Okay, thank you. And I agree with you. Those signals at that intersection, it would be beneficial if they were all upgraded as part of the project.
Any other questions for Gail on the city projects? So we have 4 projects we need to make a recommendation on. The 5th one was information only. So do I have a motion to make a positive recommendation to the board on the city's presentation of 4 projects?
So moved.
Thank you.
And I'll second that, Barbara.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Thanks, Dave. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great. Thank you very much. All right, Manitou Springs.
Hello, everybody. This is Andrew with Manitou Springs. The city of Manitou Springs has reviewed a lot of roads in the city. We're looking to propose a contract with Pyramid Construction, utilizing the maintenance construction money with PPRTA funds being $354,158, and using the remaining finances from the city of Manitou Springs and our road repair and maintenance, as well as our transportation fund, for a total contract amount of $777,456.20. This will include 2-inch mill and overlay on multiple roads, as well as cape seal and then restriping of these streets.
All right. Any questions for Manitou on their project? Any discussion?
The Cape Seal is a great program, great project. I'd like to encourage other municipalities around to do the great work that you're about to be doing. So good on you. Keep up the
Much
great work.
appreciated. Yeah, we've
Thank
heard
you,
a
Dan.
lot of great feedback on the Cape versus the chip seal.
Yep, I could not agree more. The chip seal, I think, is just too noisy in an urban setting like you folks have there. Cape seal gives you a little structural added capacity. That's good. It's quiet. That's good. You get the skid resistance. That's great. I think you're the only ones around doing that. So again, maybe you can do a little lunch and learn or something, and teach others around you what a great job you'll be doing. So they're good on you. Keep it up.
Thank you so much. Much appreciated.
Any other comments on Manitou? Do I have a motion to approve Manitou's request?
Yeah, this is Fidel Lee. I'll go ahead and move that we move forward with that request.
Thank you, Fidel, and welcome.
This is Richard Zamora. I'll second.
Thank you, Richard. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. All right, is Lan on?
Yes, I am.
Well, it's your turn.
Well, thank you. Good afternoon, Chair and members on the CAC. My name is Lan Rao, Transit Services Division Manager. In your packet is our monthly report from Transit, reflecting the May ridership. If you scroll down to the next page, you will see a summary of, well, actually, keep going. Yes, right here. You will see a summary of year-to-date ridership information, revenue service hours, as well as that boardings per revenue service hours. If you notice that 2023 boardings per revenue service hour went down a little bit, which is not consistent with the trend that we're seeing from 2022. The reason being that is we added a lot of additional revenue service hours in fall 2023. And as soon as we added the revenue service hours, it does take a little while, normally 12 to 18 months for people to understand the service, start using the service, so the ridership builds up. So that's why you would see that dip in 2023 in terms of boardings per revenue service hour. And we're very glad to see that going up in 2024, and that is the trend that we're monitoring. If you keep scrolling down, this is our Zero Fare for Better Air campaign. We have officially received the award from the State Transit Agency, CASTA, to provide zero fare for our area starting July 1st through August 31st. So we're providing free fare for our riders for 2 months, and we were at downtown bus terminal to promote the awareness. We handed out bubble makers, we handed out popsicles, and a lot of people were able to stop by, learn more about transit, and getting a lot of feedback from our riders. So that was a great event that we had this weekend. Also included in our monthly report is our bus update. As you know, I have been reporting to the CAC that transit experiencing a lot of challenges in terms of vehicle shortage. And we're very happy to receive, actually, we received two out of the 7 buses that we ordered. This is the contract that the board and the CAC approved back in November 2023. And we were able to place an order for 7 diesel buses, and we're receiving them now. So we really see that light right now, and we're very happy to share this information with the CAC. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Leanne, this is Jim. You said these 7 were diesel buses?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Lan, I have a question. It's Barb.
Yes.
How are you today?
Doing great. Thank you, Barb.
Good. Just not being extremely astute about ridership, but when we have a zero fare period, how do you account for ridership when there isn't a fare? I just want to understand how you gather that data.
That is a great question. We have fare box inside each vehicle. Normally, when someone pays, then you capture that ridership. Well, now we're not collecting fares, so the drivers are tasked to basically record that information, just press a button using that fare box without actually collecting fare.
Okay.
And this is actually the basis for us to receive reimbursement from CASTA.
Great. I just kind of wondered what the protocol was for gathering that. Great.
Yeah. Good question.
Any other questions for Lan on the transit report?
Just one quick question, as always, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Dave.
Thank you. Lan, as always, fabulous job. Love to see the numbers heading in the right direction. The one thing I'd like to throw out, maybe more of a question for next year. I know there was recently a bike to work day that was once again for the 20th or 30th or 50th year in a row was a resounding success. Take your bike to work. That's great. One comment I'd like to suggest is that I'm seeing a trend in other cities where they blend take the bike to work day with, you can see where this is going. Guess what? Take the bus to work day. And for those of us who probably live a little further away from work from home, a lot of what I'm seeing is, and I think you may have even seen them as well, and I just encourage you for consideration for next year, maybe to blend the two together, but you'd have to get the bike to work day people to agree to bump it into July if this is to be an ongoing thing. Does that make sense? So you'd have a take your bike to work day, take your bus to work day. It could be the same day. That's what a lot of them do, but it's free for everybody. Hook your bike on the bus, take it there for free. You don't worry about the fares. And I know the complicating makes it difficult for some people to understand how to navigate the system. Take that away and maybe blend the two in a day for 2025. Or maybe you've already done that, or maybe you're already doing that. I don't know. I'll leave it to you. But I know that some agencies are doing take the bus to work day as well as take a bike to work day. So there. Comments, thoughts, crazy ideas?
I love it. Thank you. We'll look into that.
Just keep up the great work. And yeah, I'd love to see, since you're doing it anyway, as Harry Hoth, who used to own and run KRDO, used to say, he or she who toots their own horn gets their horn tooted. So I'd encourage you, keep tooting your horn. You're doing a great job. Just keep up the good work.
Thank you, Dave.
All right. Thanks, Lan. I appreciate your report. Good job.
Thanks, Jim.
All right. Next on the list would be Green Mountain Falls.
Hi there, my name is Bill Wyatt. I'm the town clerk and treasurer here in Green Mountain Falls, filling in for the town manager, Becky Frank. The town is requesting consideration for an IGA between the town of Green Mountain Falls and the PPRTA. This would let us use $10,000 of the approximate $94,000 available from 2025. So we would be requesting a reimbursement, spending non-PPRTA funds this year and asking for a reimbursement next year.
This is Rick. This request is very similar to the request that the City of Colorado Springs and El Paso County recently made to spend their non-RTA money in 2024 and with an IGA to be reimbursed in 2025 out of their PPRTA 3 capital funds. So this is very similar. PPRTA attorney Jennifer Ivey wanted the two previous situations, city and county, to have a 2-meeting sequence. One is to approve the concept before she spent the time on drafting the IGA document. So since city and county had to go through a two-meeting sequence, she also informed me that Green Mountain Falls would need to go through a two-meeting sequence. So this is the concept stage for the CAC to recommend approval of the board and the board to approve. And then in August, Jennifer Ivey would bring back the IGA.
Is there a notable or financial impact of stretching this out over two meetings?
No.
Okay. I just want to go on record. The precedent has been set, and we are here now. My biggest concern is to make sure that we're clear that we are not trying to fund 2025 RTA 3 projects in 2024. And in my personal opinion, not as the chair position, but my personal position is this precedent is borderline. And we have to make sure that we're very clear here that we're not getting ahead of the citizens' desire to fund these projects in RTA 3 by doing them here. So we've been through this. The attorney's okay with it. The board has done it. I'm just saying we just got to be careful as we review these to make sure that the accountability is there and the funding is there, and that we're not getting ahead of ourselves and creating a perception with the public that is not right. So that's my comment. Any other comments on Manitou's request? I mean, Green Mountain Falls request?
Yeah, this is Carlos. I did have a question.
Go ahead, Carlos.
Yeah, and this is just to clarify, it's both a question and just a clarification here on my part that this really is more of an advance towards preparing the grant application. So the grant hasn't been awarded. My question is that if the grant was to be, you're not awarded the grant, that the money that is spent towards this preparation for the grant submittal to actually, determine the actual cost, that's not going to be lost effort for PPRTA 3 or in the future. Is that a correct understanding?
That wouldn't be a lost effort. We would, pursue alternatives in that event. At the end of the day, the bridge in question has been identified as being in poor condition by the CDOT off-system bridge rating program. It's just inevitable. Something has to be done. So
we're doing kind of like again, to go for the grant, you're going to have to do a cost assessment. So it's the precursor to any sort of design work. Is that correct?
Exactly. It opens the door for us to apply for those grants. It's the first step that we have to take.
Yeah, and by the way, I do support it with the caveats that our chair has mentioned, that we do have to be conscientious of how we use our funds to accelerate projects here. The fact that it is tied to a grant, and we have to do it now. Timing is everything. Usually these grants are here on the table now. Take it or leave it. We got to move forward if we're going to go after that grant money, so we can leverage our dollars. And so that's kind of influences my support for this. But I just wanted to make sure that that whatever, if we do not get this grant, that or the grant is not awarded, that this would then put us, it's still in nonetheless a very good position to do this work under PPRTA 3, and it's not a lost money towards this project.
That's exactly right, and that's our thinking as well. That's exactly the approach.
And the monies we're talking about, you said it's in the memo under $10,000, right? For the reimbursement for this the work that's going towards this grant.
Yeah, it would be for up to $10,000, not to exceed $10,000, and the approximate available amount to Green Mountain Falls in 2025 is $94,000.
So it's almost like a 10-to-1 leverage, right? Maybe I'm oversimplifying that, but we're putting in $10,000 now, we get nearly $100,000 for the project.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate that, Bo.
Thank you, Carlos.
Any further discussion on Green Mountain Falls? Okay, do I have a motion to approve Green Mountain Falls request as presented?
So moved.
Thank you. Second, anybody?
Carlos
Larry,
Perez,
there's
I'll
Carlos.
second that.
All right, Carlos, thank you. All those in favor of making a favorable recommendation to the board, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay, okay. One nay, thank you.
Thank you all.
So what was the 6? Oh, just let me know what the total is so I know what it is. All right, item number 7D, Colorado Springs monthly change order and property acquisition report. It's information only. Anybody? Oh, wait. C. 7C. 7C. Oh, sorry. 7C. City of Manitou Springs proposal for revenue allocation adjustment.
Okay, this is Rick speaking. As the CAC members will recall, a year ago, the CAC and the board reviewed the City of Manitou Springs financial situation, and it was in 2 phases. First, Manitou asked for a review of all years up through 2022, so I think that's 18 years, and the board decided to allocate a $600,000 one-time payment to Manitou Springs for capital funding, which was completed, and that money was moved into their account. The second item from a year ago, June of 23, was a commitment by the board to study options for revising board practice or the Fifth Amendment and restated intergovernmental agreement between the member entities to address the annual situations when the City of Manitou Springs experiences a financial deficit. So Lisa ran the numbers for at the end of calendar 23, and that's in your packet. That's the template. There's a blank template, but there's also the template completed with the numbers for the results of the end of calendar 23, and that showed that Manitou Springs was had a deficit of $65,725 of compared to what their retail sector contributed to PPRTA and what the budget gave them back. So those are the 2 numbers that resulted in the $65,725 deficit. That was the motion by the CAC that was forwarded to the board at the board's June meeting. It was a single recommendation from the CAC to the board to accept the template and the data, the financial data that came out of the template for the end of calendar 23. The board, however, took a look at the June of 23 proposal between Manitou Springs and PPRTA, which both the PPRTA board accepted and Manitou Springs City Council accepted. And in item number 2, it says a commitment by the board to study options, plural. So the board decided to postpone this issue and send it back to the staff and the CAC for at least one more option. So the additional option that staff has come up with is to ask Manitou Springs to I can't think of a more diplomatic term, to prove that they can spend their existing capital fund, unspent capital funds, before they are awarded any additional funds, particularly out of the template, the 65,725. So that's the second option being provided to the CAC by the staff, is to ask the city of Manitou Springs to prove that they can spend what's in their account now before they come back and ask for the deficit funding for the end of 23. So the recommendation of the CAC is the preferred option, which I just stated. The second option is what the CAC approved last month, the use of the template, both the blank template and the completed template for count of 23. And then any other options that the CAC would like to offer. Staff is wide open to any other options the CAC would like to put on the table and discuss. So that's the situation. I'm available for questions, or CAC members can mention additional options if they have them.
If I might add, and Rick, correct me if I don't remember this properly, but there was a fair amount of discussion among board members about this whole concept, actually. And there were several members of the board that were questioning this whole concept of making one entity whole when there are other entities that aren't whole, and not doing everybody. And if we do everybody, why do we have an RTA? So there was some discussion around that to begin with. And it was also clarified that this money goes to all capital and cannot be split between capital and maintenance, because maintenance is distributed by population from the census. Did I get that right?
Yes.
So just giving you a flavor for what some of the board members thought. If I was pulling a number out of air, I'd say it's probably 50-50 in terms of the atmosphere that I watched and listened to. That's my opinion. It's not scientifically chosen. So I'm just giving you, as members of the CAC, some feedback from discussion of last month's board meeting.
This is Rick again. Yes, I probably failed to put it in my memo. The attorney, Jennifer Ivey, the board attorney, advised the board that the CAC's recommendation of the 65,725 being split in the capital versus maintenance ratio that's in the ballot, she determined that would be impossible to do, because like Jim just mentioned, the allocation of any PPRTA money to member governments in the maintenance category must be by population. So we couldn't make a special allocation and to Manitou and split it capital and maintenance. It would have to be 100% capital, because maintenance is in the documents indicating this has to be by population. Capital is not in any of the documents. It's by board practice, so that can change from time to time. So just an update to the CAC that the 65,725, if that is ever approved, it can only be capital, cannot be split between capital and maintenance.
And along that line was, if they got it, what would they spend it on? Do they have any A-list projects at this juncture in the last year of RTA2 that they could spend it on and commit to? And that was not clear in the discussion. So that was another kind of vein of discussion at the board meeting.
Jim, this is Barb.
Go ahead, Barb.
And in talking with our city administrator, and I'm sure Andrew could chime in terms of the comment about Rick's comment about proving the concept, these monies are intended toward development of our Hiawatha Gardens Mobility Center in full, which is fully a capital project. And we're in the phase of updating our agreements with our architects to bring those costs forward from last year. And hopefully design phase could be accomplished presumably before the end of this year. Andrew, you got anything else to add to that?
You hit everything spot on, Barb. Thank you.
And that concept was discussed, but it was also brought up that the RTA portion of funding for the Hiawatha Center was primarily been the parking lot, the charging stations, and not the rehab of that building into a wedding center and social center, that it was for the transit related activities of that center.
That's absolutely correct.
Solely transit.
Yep. And I mean, at least last year's cost estimates on the site development and the mobility hub, which excludes the building, were in excess of 2.6 million at that time.
Okay, thank you, Barb.
Somebody
else had a comment or question?
Carlos. Yeah.
Carlos?
I always have questions here. This goes back to the other ideas, and I don't know if this will go anywhere, but if really the challenge is here is we have this capital money, we want to make sure that it benefits Manitou Springs because it is an area that brings in a lot of the tax revenue. Maybe to consider, or an idea is our regional projects. For example, the Midland Trail, always bring that up, the Midland Trail corridor. That actually, spans El Paso County, Colorado Springs, and Manitou Springs. But it's one of those trails that actually benefits the municipality of Manitou Springs. Because it's a 6-mile corridor, it joins downtown to downtown, to transit hub to transit hub. So I'm just saying that if we're looking at a plan B or a plan C and we're saying, hey, we'd like to allocate this money, there's some place that could benefit it, but we can't spend all the money now inside the boundaries of Manitou Springs. Let's think outside the box and consider projects that would directly benefit Colorado Springs, but benefit Manitou Springs, but would be a regional project like the Midland Trail. I'm just throwing that out as an idea.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions on this? Do you want to expand? Okay, Kathy, go ahead.
And my question is, if on the 65,000, if Manitou knows where they want to spend the money, why is it not coming forward as a budget amendment like we've seen before, rather than we spent more than we got and can you make us whole?
They would have to do that if the transfer of additional money is approved.
Okay.
So they would have to come back with a budget amendment showing what they're going to use it for.
Okay.
Am I correct, Rick? So this is a first step. And again, the board, we were only presenting to the board one option. And so they wanted us to take a look at another option, and Rick has presented those in the recommendation section of his document. Yeah, are there any other options anybody wants to bring up or talk about? Okay, so not hearing any further discussion. I hear a recommendation to approve the staff's recommendation as presented to the CAC and present that back to the board next week.
So moved.
Kathy says she so move. Any second? Okay.
This is David. I'll second it for
Thank you, David.
For discussion.
Thanks, David.
I was getting ready to lose my breath, David. Thank you. All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 I'm going to be a nay. Any other nays? Okay.
We have 9. No, we have 10. Sorry.
Okay.
So 9-1.
9-1. It was 9-1 on the last one as well.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Good discussion. Okay, 7D, City of Colorado Springs monthly change order and property acquisition. It's information only. The information's in your document. Any questions for Gail?
I have just one.
Okay.
All of these properties down here, I looked on South Academy for them. I couldn't find all these gates. It says Gateway, four, there's 43, Gateway, 42A, 44. What are those gateways?
So that is likely the number that's after the project name is the parcel number in accordance with the right-of-way plan set. And then my guess, and then I know that the dash, those names are actually the property owners, not the businesses that are there. Okay. And we typically don't necessarily list this on this report, but it was a very complex acquisition. So my guess is they have a little bit more information there, more just to keep things straight.
So the property is owned by Gateway Commercial, and those are different access points to the property?
Yes.
Okay.
Different parcels.
I looked on the map and I just couldn't find anything that designated Gateway. So
no.
I just inquired.
And in fact, I think in almost most of the cases on that project, the business name and the property owner name are different.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Any other questions on city's property and acquisition report? Okay. 7E, El Paso County change order and property acquisition report. Jeff. All right, any questions for Jeff or anybody? Okay, not seeing one, we'll move on. Thank you. 8A, report of recent board actions.
My memo's in the packet. Any questions?
All right. 8B, CAC member attendance and conference. Attendance at conferences. David.
Yes, sir. I thank you for bringing that up again. I think I just wanted to throw it out for a little more discussion. Last time we had a very brief overview of opportunities that may present ourselves there. Some that many of you may be aware of. I think I may have mentioned the Colorado Municipal League. Every year, every city council member, pretty much across the state of Colorado, attends the annual Municipal League. Likewise, there's 2 county get-togethers a year through Colorado Counties Incorporated, but there's just a variety of local conferences. I would like to suggest maybe that if there's some further interest in this, I would be happy to develop a list of these kinds of conferences. There's probably 10 to 20 of them out there, I think, that are totally official, very relevant, very worthwhile, relatively low cost. I'm talking hundreds of dollars a year per each board member. And I think it really just occurred to me, as I said last month, that for the amount of $200 million that this group oversees, I think that we need to invest not only in our infrastructure, but in our infrastructure decision-making leadership capabilities, which is those of us around the table today or on the Zoom call today. I think that the more we all learn about, and you can pick I'll pick on Lan because she's here and she's always gracious. There's a CASTA, a Colorado Area Transit Managers Association. I don't know, Lan, 1 or 2 of those a year. Go learn about buses, go learn about traffic signals with the traffic people, learn about public works operations and Cape Seal, as our Manitou friends were talking about today. I think that if every one of us would just pick one conference for a couple $100 a year, it'd be different people going to different things, but you'd come back with a better understanding. So you could talk with Andrew and me about details about Cape Seal. There's nothing more endlessly fascinating, is there, Andrew, than talking?
I'm so excited for the Cape Seal, honestly, versus the chip seal. I see a lot more benefit and it's cost effective versus the Cape or the chip seal. The Cape Seal I find is much more cost effective.
See what I mean? And if anybody else would like to jump into this great, endlessly fascinating dialogue about bituminous surface treatments, you could be one of us if only you'd go to the annual Public Works Association annual conference. It's all the way up in Arvada this year. and it costs you $300 to go. So anyway, the point I like to make is that if there is interest in pursuing the possibility of this, I'd be glad to put together a short list, 10 to 20 of these kinds of conferences that are all local, all hundreds of dollars, and maybe 100-ish miles to go attend. And I think in every case, very, very worthwhile. If there's no interest in investing in our board's training, that's fine too. The only other justification I would offer is when you look at largely the unpaid council members that comprise our own board and the relatively unpaid in Colorado Springs council members, they make hundreds of dollars a month. I would put them in the unpaid category. They invest heavily. You see, Springs Utilities will fly their board members to great conferences around the world and around the country. All I'm suggesting is spend a couple $100 a year per member, and everybody pick maybe one they'd like to go to and focus on one topic every year. So there, if there's interest, I can bring a list forward. We can have a discussion for the 2025 budget cycle, probably talking 15 to 20K of our multi-$100 million budget annually.
Yeah, so my first thought that comes to mind is a large number of our members are engineers working for engineering firms doing this kind of thing, and probably go to these conferences through their companies, or owners like yourself go to these things to gain that. So in the decision-making mode of the professionals presenting the information, we've got experts around the table and are making the presentations. What value would I gain by going to a Cape Seal conference?
In that specific case, probably not much, but I think adding to the breadth and depth of your knowledge would be probably good for all of us. I think it would just give you a higher level of confidence in the great decisions that we're making and the recommendations that we're overseeing. So I think that there's value in being able to scrutinize and critique and engage in a lively dialogue, as many of us do, because we've got a depth and breadth of knowledge, which it's difficult to gain, frankly, by just reading stuff off the internet.
Okay. Anybody else have any, Kathy?
Jim?
She can go ahead.
Just a minute, Barb. Let Kathy go.
So a couple of things on that. One of which is the PPRTA, taxpayers approved for specific roads, capital projects, maintenance, and transit. Training is not included in that. I feel like PPRTA staff does an excellent job of keeping their costs down. They're not meeting the threshold of what they could spend just because we have, this big pile of money that ostensibly we have access to. I don't feel like it's responsible to use the taxpayer money to reimburse training. Secondly, this committee is a citizen advisory. There's no requirement to be a subject matter expert on any of this. We're looking at it from the citizen's perspective. Does it make sense? Does it meet our expectations? Do we feel like how the money's being used is what we approved, what the intended or stated purpose was? And I feel like even if, some feel like it would be a minuscule amount to spend that, I still don't feel like it's responsible use of these taxpayer funds.
Okay, Barb?
I was just going to make inquiry about the same aspects of Kathy's remarks of whether we're within our charge, we're even eligible to expend dollars for development, personal development. And then my other question would be of presenting or asking of the board to understand if they put themselves forward for any particular educational or training purposes.
Well, Barb, I can probably answer your second question there. I am aware that virtually, as I said, every council member, probably every county commissioner attends at least something every year. I know the Municipal League, I've been to them for many, many years. I see virtually every single council member at those. And the Colorado Counties one, I see virtually every county commissioner. The CCI one is usually held, the fall one's usually held here in Colorado Springs. It had been at the Sheraton Hotel, but that's kind of irrelevant. But yeah, so I would say that from the standpoint that our city council members, just to pick on them, are not subject matter experts, but they do invest in their own training through CML, CCI, and other related professional development opportunities. The overarching question I would offer is, and maybe this is for discussion next time, but Kathy brings up actually a good point. Is it legal? You know, we kind of start there. If it's not legal, then that's a pretty short discussion. If it is loosely covered, or I'm sure it's not specifically covered, but if it'd be inappropriate, then it's game over. Cease work, pencils down. If it's a possibility, as the council and county commissioners do, then I think maybe we can have a further in-depth discussion beyond that. But yeah, if it's illegal, to Kathy's point, it's game over. I just don't know. Maybe that's a question we can ask our own attorney.
Well, Kathy, go ahead.
I know from the CCI perspective that the commissioners' fees are paid for or reimbursed by the county, which would be a different pot of taxpayer money. So they're not paying those out of their pocket. And I'm guessing that's probably true with city council as well.
Sure. Okay. So before we get too far, go ahead.
Well, we've got two online, just whenever you're ready, in order, Carlos and then Fidel.
Go ahead, Carlos.
Just a question here, and just refresh my memory on the policies here. Let's say, yeah, we can't reimburse people for professional training. By the way, I'm a huge supporter of professional development and training. Avail to it. Go to the conferences and learn as much as you can. As a professional, you should be doing that and get trained. As for whether or not the appropriateness of this, I think that would be kind of a legal question as to the. I'm looking at the ballot measure right now, and I don't read anything in there that PPRTA staff or volunteers or people on the board would be, anywhere we can construe this for reimbursement. But I do wholeheartedly support training. So, but my other question is, let's say you're doing it on your own expense, you want to go to this conference, the appropriateness of just wearing your name badge and identifying yourself as a member of the PPRTA Citizen Advisory Committee. I leave my name badge at home, except when I'm at official PPRTA CAC functions, but this would not be a PPRTA CAC function going to one of these conferences. But what about identifying yourself as a member of this board so people know who you are and you introduce yourself and, oh, what's a RTA? What does that stand for? And just a conversation starter and identify yourself. What's the thought process here in this committee about just wearing your name badge to these outside events, professional development conferences?
I can't think of any reason why you couldn't. Whether you wanted to or not, it's up to you, I guess.
Well, I would not make it very clear. I'm not authorized to speak on behalf. I'm there as a person who's a member of the committee. I always make that disclaimer there to make sure that I'm there as an individual, but not speaking on behalf of an organization. And that's the challenge when you wear a name badge or you're speaking on. Yeah, I just want to make sure that, we're all professionals, but we don't want to leverage our volunteer position here to give an impression that would be incorrect or false. So that's the reason I brought it up. But I know we're discussing this very topic about professional development and training, and how do we represent ourselves to the outside world? We're a member of the CAC. Do we say anything? Do we identify ourselves? Do we just, just that thought process, and maybe we can carry this on next month or have that discussion with board members. But I just wanted to put that out there for discussion.
All right, thank you, Fidel.
All right, thanks. Yeah, I was just I'm really supporting what Dave is presenting. This is the only board that that I'm involved with. I'm also a director on our metropolitan district that I live in for Stetson Ridge, and there are opportunities for professional development, just advanced learning, and I think not. I think as Dave mentioned, if you already have this kind of skill set, then your learning curve is going to be much shorter than someone who's coming from outside this field. Uh, you know, part of it is you can gain more experience by doing something. The more you do something, the better. Hopefully, the more adept you'll become at it. But I think just in terms of being more participatory, as something that Dave mentioned, I'm really leaning in toward what he's saying. Now, there's a legality. There's a maybe even if we should. I understand as far as if there's a surplus, then do we refund the taxpayers by way of Tabor? But I think I don't want to I don't want to just lead us by the wayside. I think there is something here when it comes to terms of helping CAC members become more knowledgeable and more participatory, because it is an appointed position. So we aren't elected officials, but we are appointed, and so we are entrusted to do this. And I think it would help us be more resourceful as CAC members. So I just want to say that. Thank you.
Okay. So let me ask the question this way. We heard from a couple of people. I'd like to see a show of hands or yays or nays. Is this something we want to continue discussing and pursue? Is there enough interest of anybody that would want to do it? We can't make it mandatory. And the second question would be, do we spend more staff time and have Rick get the lawyer to tell us whether it's legal or not? If there's not enough interest to pursue it, then I don't think we should have the lawyer spend money and bill RTA for something. How about a voice vote? Anybody want those that would like to continue this discussion, say yes?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
this is Rick Over.
Yeah, go ahead, Rick.
My thought on it is that the concept is fairly good, except one of the values I've always seen in a CAC is you bring your personal, individual experiences in life as an input to a group that is so diverse that if you start everybody training under the same one, you're having the same thoughts. And I like keeping the CAC as a diverse member or operation to where we're bringing in our personal experiences into the group instead of a fixed educational portion. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? All right. Those who would like to continue, go ahead.
If I can ask, just because in a virtual environment, we're not going to be able to hear everyone very well. So I would recommend in this situation, those who are online to use the raise hand, lower hand function for this, so that we get a little bit better idea of numbers versus people talking over each other.
Good point. So if you're in favor of continuing this conversation and doing further research, hit your raise hand function on the virtual piece.
Tell me where that is again.
We can just count you as yes if you want to.
We'll count you, Barb.
Well, I wasn't voting yet.
Okay. It's down at the bottom.
Is it on the chat?
It's under React.
It's under React.
Oh, reactions. Gotcha. Thank you.
Otherwise, you just run through the 11 people.
Okay.
The other way we could do it, if everybody's struggling with that, is go through name by. So I see two hands. All right, take those two down, and everybody else. If you don't want to continue this and you don't think it's worthy to continue, I'm going to assume if you didn't vote for, you're not wishing to continue. Is that fair? Any disagreement?
Okay. I would offer a disagreement there. If somebody is distracted at the moment, they may not vote no. So
all right. If you don't want to continue this, raise your hand.
Mr. Chair, I'm an alternate. I don't know if I can vote on this.
Alternates can vote.
Thank you.
Right. So I see 5 hands raised to not continue. Okay, there we go. Everybody had a voice. Thank you, David.
Yep. Fair enough.
So we have 11 and 5 are no.
So we got 11. So the 5 that didn't vote don't have an opinion one way or another.
That's how I read it.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Carlos, did you raise your hand again, or do you want to say something? Oh, never mind. Okay.
Sorry about that. I was trying to lower my hand and I clicked it twice.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Thank you.
Okay.
Barb, are you in that same boat too?
Yeah, I'm just slow on the draw here.
Okay.
All right.
So that was a majority to not continue.
Yes. Okay. So let's move on to number 8C, staff field review report. Rick.
It's the result of my windshield survey, driving around looking at the quarterly accomplishments. Is information. Any questions?
All right. Not seeing any or hearing any. Thank you. Item number 9, agenda topics for next meeting. We're going to again be virtual, correct?
Yes.
And the board meeting this month is downtown, next month. So the board meeting this month is down at Centennial Hall in the county, the room next to the county commissioner's office.
In the main auditorium.
In the main auditorium. There's a small room in there. I thought they were doing a luncheon or interviews in there.
No, the
The
full board meeting is in the auditorium.
Right.
Our prep lunch is in a smaller room.
Oh, okay. All right. Never mind. So the board meeting is Centennial Hall in the main conference room to the right as you come in the front doors, if anybody wants to come.
Okay.
And it's on Cascade Avenue,
200 South.
right next to the Performing Arts Center. And then next month's board meeting will be out at the county's Citizen Center, correct? So
unless
there is hope that this building, at least the downstairs part, might be functional
by August 14.
Okay. Well, we'll cross next month when we get there.
I don't think it'll be ready by the CAC meeting.
Okay.
So I think we should probably still plan on that for virtual, but there's a chance the board meeting may be back at home.
All right. That's good news. It's only been how many years? 74?
This building's 50.
The building's 50 years old. It's about time they got some of the old hairs out of their air conditioning system, right? So, all right. No topics for next meeting. Haven't heard anything. Any communications any members of the CAC would like to share with their fellow members? All right. Not hearing any. I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved. Thank you all. Second it.
Second, Larry.
Very good, Larry. Good job. All those in favor? Meeting adjourned. I voted.